Hello, this is Dr. Mike McCall from Source Health Center. Isn't it very interesting times? So stressful, we don't know what's going on next. I feel the same thing. You know, the hardest thing about stress in the human body is, and they discovered this in a lot of different ways. There's a great book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Sapolsky. He says that, and also in psychology, is that when we're under stress, and in his case it was baboons, is what makes stress worse is when we have no sense of control, meaning what do we do? Every day it changes, what is the one thing that I can do that might hedge my bets? Not having an ability to control the situations when under stress is most stressful for us all. So don't be hard on yourselves, because we're all feeling that way. I'm feeling that right now. That's why I have to shoot videos that distract me so that I don't have to think about it. So what I wanted to do was go, how can I help in any way? My lifestyle is in such a way, I don't have children, I have 2 dogs, and my wife is amazingly capable. So my way of dealing with it is, how can I help you, my patient? Any questions you have for that. So one of those things is, because I'm going to be more bored, is I'm going to shoot more videos and realize that it's coming from I want to help, but also coming from the fact of I'm almost going crazy myself. So with that said, I have been reading over things and trying to understand a little bit more about these times, and what's come out of it, the best thing that I can think of is, I have never lived at a time where the whole world is working together, meaning like everybody in the world is actually isolating themselves and realizing that, and it's not necessarily just for their own health, it's just so that this virus doesn't spread. And I've never known humanity throughout the world to ever have that particular thing. And not only that, from a chiropractic point of view, is they are also being patient and also respecting nature of going, this virus is more than us, which I think is fascinating. So if you could take a moment and realize that no other time in history we're at this particular thing, it kind of gives me a little bit of, hey, I'm glad I'm alive type of thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was kind of what a virus is. And a lot of you probably already know what that is. So a virus comes into our body and invades a cell, it hijacks our DNA, and it makes our cells be tricked into making more viruses. And from my limited remembrance of my education, they just explode out of the cell and then they hit other cells. And that's what happens. Now, this particular virus is interesting because most viruses that we suffer from are human-made, meaning that there's some DNA in that virus that was human. When a virus crosses a species, like what we're seeing, which is they're thinking at this time, depending on how far you want to take this, is they felt that it was a transition from where the meat markets were, and it went from one animal and somehow mutated in such a way that it affected us. And that mutation is what makes a virus very difficult to address with science and medicine and that type of thing. But what's interesting about this particular virus is then it shifted again. So it's into 2 strains. So its ability to mutate and change is one of the reasons why the authorities are very concerned about this. So with that said, that sounds kind of scary, but think of it this way, is we always live at the bottom of the sea of viruses and bacteria. And we run through this every single day. And our bodies have this amazing intelligence that is its intelligence even goes beyond what we know from science and philosophy and religion and everything else. It is a very deep, amazing intelligence. And it does a lot of the work for us. So with that said, let's talk about it. So the first thing is, obviously, is don't have a virus, and that's where the isolation comes, and you do the best you can, and of course wiping surfaces and everything. I'll have a really good article written by Dr. Mark Force, who practices in Ashland, Oregon, and I'm going to try to put this in somehow. Really good advice. He really breaks it down. I think it's one of the best articles I've read in quite some time that I'll put in there. But the other part is if you have it, then the next important thing is your body strong enough to actually process it? Maybe not have symptoms, maybe have symptoms, but survive it. So the strength thing is really where we're poised. What is a strong human body? Generally in our healthcare system, we're educated to look at where the problems in the body are. Like this is this disease, this is this process, this is where the body breaks down, these kind of things. But we haven't really spent a lot of time really looking at, well, this is how a body is healthy. We need to do research on what health is. What is it? What makes a body healthy or not? The only way that we seem to be understanding that process is we have patients that are patients and people who are not patients. People who are not patients are what we consider healthy. There's been an interesting parallel motion in that in psychology is starting to go from trying to diagnose these particular disorders to we want to explore what makes the psychology of a person healthy, which I find is really interesting. So what is a strong body? Well, from a chiropractic point of view, meaning through my education and the things that I've been exposed to, it is a body that's healthy. A body that healthy is able to adapt, meaning that when stimulus come in, the body goes, I know what to do with that. It quickly makes a change and it quickly can restore itself back. So the next part is obviously, well, then I want a strong immune system. So one of the analogies that I like is when you think of your white blood cells as soldiers. I hate war, but your body has to have the resources to reproduce a lot of white blood cells. And one of the ways you can do that very simply is 2 ways of exercise. Is do very strong, strenuous exercise. So do as many push-ups as you can, or do as many squats as you can, or do as many pull-ups as you can. Do something where you're physically exerting yourself where you have to stop, okay? And if it's 1 push-up or 10, it doesn't matter. When you go through a quick strenuous exercise where you have to stop, that actually clues the body to make white blood cells. Now, if you're an endurance athlete or just a human, just doing a slow, steady exercise where your heart rate's elevated for a long period of time but not being out of breath is also another way to increase your white blood cells. So exercise is really important. So having enough good food, so having good protein, your body needs protein to do this. That's eggs and animals and stuff like that. If you're a vegetarian, there's other ways that you can combine it. The other thing is the most important nutrients for our white blood cells at this particular time is, of course, vitamin C, which you can get from very colorful things such as berries, such as peppers. Any fruit or vegetable that's just variance in colors is a great form of vitamin C. If not, take your vitamin C that you have. If you're starting to dose up on your vitamin C and you start to have diarrhea, then that means you have to back off on your vitamin C. So too much vitamin C, if it's synthetic vitamin C, can cause diarrhea. So that's just telling your body to say stop. You also need zinc. Zinc is probably, in my practice, the most deficient mineral that I run into. So you can get zinc. These are all at the grocery store. You can get that. If you're a patient of mine, it'll be zinc liver chelate, chesin, all organic trace minerals. This gives your troops the ammunition to engulf. But one of the most important minerals is actually calcium. If you're deficient in calcium, what happens is your white blood cells cannot attack other cells. So you need that vitamin C, the calcium in order to do that. When you're low in calcium and low in vitamin C in an immune response, your body is so intelligent and knows what it needs to do next, and that is to create a fever. So many times a fever can be induced because of a lack of calcium and a lack of vitamin C. So it's more paramount that you do your calcium and your vitamin C. Generally with a virus, the fever is going to be around 101, but if you're having a fever, your children's having a fever, calcium is a really good form to do it. Get it in the grocery store. If you're a patient of mine, it'll be calcium lactate would be really good. You got to get rest, and there'll be some other things. So if you guys have any questions or anything about what I said, granted, this is the end of the talk. It's gone too long. I'm here to help. I want to help. And plus, I like to know what's going on out there. I want to learn from you what's working from you to do this. So look forward to more videos, and I'll see you soon. How was that?